suffering from an illness that is painful, untreatable, and incurable, and they request for a physician to assist them in suicide to end their suffering. Shouldn't that be okay? I believe that a person should be in control of his or her own fate. I have done a lot of research on this subject, so I feel I am qualified to speak about it. Today I will tell you about the arguments for, the opinions on, and the methods used for physician-assisted suicide, which from now on I will call physician-assisted suicide, PAS. First, I will go over the arguments. Medical arguments for PAS are respect for autonomy. Decisions about time and circumstances around death are very personal. Competent people should have the right to choose death. Justice. Justice requires that we treat like cases alike. Competent terminally ill patients are allowed to hasten death by a treatment refusal. For some patients, treatment refusal will not suffice the hastening of death. The only option is suicide. Justice requires that we should allow assisted death for these patients. Compassion. Suffering means more than pain. There are other physical and psychological burdens. And it's not always possible to relieve suffering. Thus, PAS may be a compassionate response to unbearable suffering. Individual versus interest. Though society has a strong interest in preserving life, that interest lessens when a person is terminally ill. A complete prohibition on assisted death excessively limits personal liberty. Therefore, PAS should be allowed in certain cases. Openness of discussion. Some would argue that assisted death already occurs, though in secret. For example, morphine trips used for pain relief may be a covert form of assisted death or euthanasia. If PAS is illegal, that prevents open discussion, in which patients and physicians could engage. Legalization of PAS would promote open discussion. Ethical arguments for PAS. The ethics of PAS continue to be debated, but some argue that PAS is ethical. Often, this is argued on the grounds that PAS may be a rational choice for a person who is choosing to die to escape unbearable suffering. Furthermore, the physician's duty to alleviate suffering may at times justify the act of providing assistance for suicide. These arguments rely a great deal on the notion of individual autonomy, recognizing the right of competent people to choose for themselves the course of their life, including how it will end. Legal arguments for PAS. Several major court decisions have been made regarding PAS. In the case of Compassion in Dying versus Washington, the 9th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals held that individuals have a right to choose how and when they will die. Others argue that assisted suicide is covered by the 9th Amendment. Now I'll go over the different opinions on physician-assisted suicide. Medical. Surveys of individual physicians show that half believe that PAS is ethically justifiable in the certain cases. However, professional organizations such as the American Medical Association have generally argued about PAS on the grounds that it undermines the integrity of the professions. Surveys also show that 1 in 5 doctors will get requests for PAS, and 5 to 20% of those requests are eventually honored. The peer opinions. I asked several people what they think about physician-assisted suicide, and I got many answers. Most of the answers I received were against PAS, but there were some who were in favor of it. Megan says, I believe that people should have a right to choose when and how they are going to die. That is a given right. People can tell you, no, you can't choose when you will die, but they are not the ones going through the pain and the suffering. Lisa says, the fate of the people is in God's hands. Michelle says, I cannot make a decision. Sarah, why do lawmakers think that they have the right to tell people that they have to go through all of the pain? I am in full support of PAS. It is the person's choice. Finally, today I'd like to describe to you the 3 main methods used for PAS. Terminal sedation. Terminal sedation refers to the practice of sedating a terminally ill competent patient to the point of unconsciousness, then allowing the patient to die of their disease. Withholding and withdrawing life-sustaining treatments. When a competent patient makes an informed decision to refuse life-sustaining treatment, there is a virtual law in the medical profession that states a patient's wish should be respected. And a hastened death. Often a terminally ill patient may require dosages of pain medication that impair respiration or have other effects that may hasten death. It is generally held by most professional societies and supported in court decisions that this is justifiable as long as the primary intent is to relieve suffering. Now I've told you the arguments, told you the opinions, and explained to you the different methods of PAS. I'd like to conclude today with saying that PAS is okay under certain circumstances. If anyone ever tells you they are considering PAS, inform them that they need to discuss the topic with their doctor. Unless you are the person's primary care physician, you are not qualified to discuss this with them. And one last quote I would like to finish with is, as a doctor, my commitment is to do everything possible and anything that is necessary to alleviate a person's suffering. And this was said by Ira Byock, DO. Thank you.